we are finally starting to see some color in northern Michigan. Not that we didn't have a little bit. We were having a pretty decent changeover with the leaves in early September, and then everything dried out and got really warm. One of the things that ended up happening was the hurricanes, when they were in the Atlantic moving into towards Florida and the Caribbean, that tends to stop up the pattern. So instead of us allowing troughs of low pressure to move through the Great Lakes and giving us some moisture and some cool temperatures, we ended up with some very warm, much warmer than normal, and temperatures, and drying out, so that we were much drier than normal, and it delayed everything. But we had a pretty decent little bit of rain that came through in the last 24 hours, actually almost 18 hours, as I'm going home now at 5 o'clock, and it stopped sometime here during the middle of the morning. All of a sudden we noticed that there are a lot more trees that suddenly have turned reds and yellows that weren't like that beforehand. So as I said to my colleagues as I left the office, and they were getting in their cars as well, I said, I think it's time to start the color commutes. The best area probably for this particular part of the color commute is, at least when I'm working day shifts, is the trees as I come out of the office and head down the hill on Mansalona Road towards Old 27. It's not too bad of a stretch going up Old 27 towards town. There are some very heavily treed areas in that, so we'll see what it turns out to look like. But the best one is usually when I'm going to work on night shifts, which unfortunately was last month. Now we're in October and I'm actually on day shifts now. Just finished the first round. I'll have another round coming up, and then maybe at the end of the month. But by that, usually by the 19th, 20th, we're pretty much done with color, and the leaves are just dropping left and right. So we'll see how this goes. Now we are supposed to be above normal for temperature for the month. We're going to be right around normal here for the next 2 weeks-ish. Maybe a little above normal, but not much, if any. It's just been the way that it's worked out. So we'll see. There's quite a bit more color as I see here today. Of course, we also had some nice sunny weather here. It's been cloudier the last couple of days as I came out of work. So this ought to be an interesting an interesting fall to see how this goes. Much of us who have been looking at color over the past 15 to 20 years at the office, and there's quite a few of us in there now, have noticed that we may end up with really slow starts sometimes, but all of a sudden it doesn't take long. So we're expecting probably within the next week and a half that we will start to see a fairly rapid progression of color, and we'll see if we can keep enough precipitation in this. And it looks like this rest of this week we will. That we will start seeing more color. We'll see how bright it gets. If the trees can get enough moisture in them here to let them soak up things and keep the leaves somewhat a little more pliable, and we will start to see a pretty decent bit of color, I think. It should have been a really good year, and initially it was setting up to be, but we'll see. It may not be as good as it would have been if we had moisture earlier in September. We'll see how it goes. So far the color is looking more pronounced than it had been.